When my daughter-in-law told me to leave, I smiled instead of crying. I remember the feeling in my chest, like a quiet door closing. Not a slam. Just a soft click. The kind that tells you something is finished, even if no one says it out loud. I stood there at the bottom of the stairs, my hand resting on the wooden rail. The house was quiet. Too quiet for a family home. I could hear the clock ticking in the hallway. Every second felt heavy, like it knew something I didn't want to admit yet. My son, Daniel, didn't look at me. He stared at his phone, like the screen could protect him from my eyes. His wife, Melissa, crossed her arms and waited. She had already decided how this would end. That was the moment I understood. Not just that I was no longer welcome, but that something else had been planned long before this conversation. You see, when you raise a child, you learn their silences. You learn the way they avoid eye contact. The way they rush things that should take time. And the way guilt makes them careless. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I didn't beg to stay. I just smiled, nodded, and said, "All right. I'll go." But as I turned toward the stairs, one thought settled calmly in my mind. I may be old. I may be tired. But I was not confused. And whatever they thought was waiting for me on those steps. I was already one step ahead. My name is Margaret Wilson. I am 72 years old. I was married for 48 years to a good man named Robert. We raised one son together. Just one. Daniel. Daniel was my whole world when he was born. I remember holding him in the hospital room, the smell of clean sheets and warm milk in the air. Robert stood beside me, nervous and proud. We promised each other we would always protect our child. We tried our best. We really did. Daniel grew up kind. Quiet. Thoughtful. He loved books and model airplanes. He used to sit at the kitchen table while I cooked, telling me about school in that soft voice of his. Our home wasn't fancy. But it was warm. Sunday dinners. Laughter. The sound of Robert's radio playing old songs in the evening. When Robert passed away 5 years ago, the house changed. Not suddenly. But slowly. Like the light dimming at the end of a long day. Daniel insisted I move in with him and his wife. He said it wasn't safe for me to live alone anymore. He said he worried. Melissa agreed, but her smile never reached her eyes. She was polite. Always polite. But polite can be sharp if you listen closely. They lived in a 2-story house in a quiet neighborhood in Ohio. White siding. A narrow staircase in the middle of the home. The kind that creaks a little when you step on the 3rd stair from the bottom. At first, I tried to make myself small. I stayed in my room. I cleaned quietly. I folded laundry without being asked. I didn't want to be a burden. No mother does. Melissa worked from home. She liked things a certain way. Her way. I respected that. Or at least, I tried. Daniel was often tired. Work stressed him. Money stressed him more than he admitted. I could see it in the way he rubbed his temples at night. I overheard things sometimes. Whispers after midnight. Hushed voices when they thought I was asleep. I told myself not to listen. That privacy matters. That families argue. That this was normal. But something felt off. Not dangerous. Just cold. And cold can be worse than anger. It started with small things. Little changes that felt unimportant at first. Melissa stopped saying good morning. Daniel avoided sitting next to me at dinner. The stairs, once sturdy, seemed different somehow. One afternoon, I noticed the railing felt loose. Just a little. Enough to notice. Enough to make me pause. I mentioned it casually. Daniel, I said, the stair rail might need tightening. He didn't look up. I'll get to it, he said. Days passed. Nothing changed. Then I slipped. Not badly. Just enough to scare me. I was carrying laundry down the stairs when my foot missed the step. I caught myself on the wall. My heart raced. The basket fell. Melissa watched from the kitchen. She didn't move. You should be more careful, she said. Her voice was calm. Too calm. That night, I lay awake listening to the rain tap against the window. I thought about Robert. About how he used to fix things the moment they broke. How he would never let a loose rail stay loose. I began to watch more. Listen more. Notice the quiet changes. I noticed how Melissa rearranged the stairs carpet. How one edge curled slightly. How Daniel started insisting I use the stairs instead of the side entrance. Exercise is good for you, Mom, he said. He smiled when he said it. But his eyes were somewhere else. I felt something settle in my chest then. Not fear. Understanding. I didn't confront them. I didn't accuse. I simply paid attention. I called my sister Helen one afternoon. She lives 2 states away. I didn't tell her everything. Just enough. Do you feel safe? She asked quietly. I looked at the stairs. I feel aware, I said. That night, I wrote a letter. Not dramatic. Just honest. I kept it in my purse. The day everything became clear was a Sunday. Sunny. Too bright for what was coming. Melissa suggested I carry a box of old books down to the basement. Daniel stood nearby, pretending to scroll on his phone. I looked at the box. Heavy. Awkward. I can help, I said. No need, Melissa replied quickly. Her voice was sharp this time. Almost nervous. I smiled. All right. As I stepped onto the stairs, I noticed something new. The third step. The one that always creaked. It had been loosened. Not broken. Just enough. I stood still. Time slowed. I felt calm. Clear. I turned around and said softly. I think I'll rest first. Melissa's face changed. Just for a second. Disappointment. Then control. That was enough. That night, I packed quietly. Just essentials. Clothes. Photos. The letter. In the morning, I asked Daniel to sit with me. I'm leaving, I said. He froze. Why? I met his eyes. Because I know. He looked away. I didn't explain. I didn't need to. I walked out of that house on my own terms. Down the front steps. Not the stairs inside. I stayed with a friend, Clara, for a few days. Then I made arrangements. I spoke to a lawyer. A gentleman named Thomas Reed. I showed him the letter. I told him everything. He listened. He believed me. The days after I left passed slowly. Not painfully. Just slowly, like a body learning a new rhythm after a long illness. For the first few nights, I barely slept. Not because I was afraid. But because my mind kept replaying moments I had ignored for too long. Little looks. Small silences. The way love can quietly turn into distance without making a sound. Clara's house was modest, but it felt safe. She put fresh sheets on the bed and left a glass of water on the nightstand. She didn't ask questions right away. She just said, "You're here now. That's what matters." That kindness broke something open inside me. One evening, we sat at her kitchen table while the kettle boiled. The room smelled like chamomile and clean wood. I told her everything. Not dramatically. Just the facts, spoken slowly. She didn't interrupt. She didn't gasp. She just reached across the table and held my hand. "You listen to yourself," she said. "That saved you." I hadn't thought of it that way before. In the weeks that followed, I learned how tired I truly was. Not just from age. But from years of being careful. Years of making myself smaller so others could feel larger. I visited a doctor. Nothing serious. Just checkups. He told me my blood pressure was already improving. "Peace does that," he said with a smile. I took walks every morning. Slow ones. Around the block. Sometimes around the park nearby. I noticed things I hadn't paid attention to in years. The sound of gravel under my shoes. Children laughing in the distance. Leaves moving when no one touched them. Life was still happening. Even after everything. Melissa tried to contact me again. A voicemail this time. Her voice was controlled. Carefully shaped. "I think we all misunderstood each other," she said. "I hope we can talk like adults." I listened once. Then deleted it. Some conversations come too late. Daniel stayed silent for almost a month. When he finally reached out, it wasn't with excuses. It was with hesitation. "Mom," he said on the phone, "can I see you?" I closed my eyes before answering. I wanted to be sure. "Yes," I said. "But only if you come alone." He arrived the next afternoon. No Melissa. No explanations prepared in advance. He looked older. Smaller somehow. Like the weight he'd been avoiding had finally settled on his shoulders. We sat in the living room. The window was open. A soft breeze moved the curtains. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then he started crying. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just quiet tears, the kind that slip out when holding them becomes impossible. "I don't know when I lost myself," he said. "I thought I was protecting my life. My marriage. My future." I listened. That was all I did. "I was scared," he continued. "Scared of money. Scared of responsibility. Scared of choosing wrong." I nodded. Fear makes cowards out of people who once knew better. "I never wanted to hurt you," he said. His voice cracked. "I just let things happen." That sentence hurt more than anything else. I leaned forward slightly. My voice stayed calm. "Daniel," I said, "there are things people do. And there are things people allow. Both matter." He wiped his face. "I know," he whispered. I didn't forgive him right away. Not because I wanted to punish him. But because forgiveness without honesty is just another lie. "I love you," I said. That never changed. But trust takes time. And some doors don't open the same way again. He nodded slowly. He understood. Or at least, he was beginning to. When he left, he hugged me gently. Not the rushed kind. The careful kind. After that, life settled into something steady. I found my own apartment. A small one-bedroom near a quiet street. Everything on one level. Wide windows. A little balcony where I keep potted plants. I chose furniture slowly. Deliberately. Things that felt like me. I framed old photos. Robert smiling in the garden. Daniel as a child, holding a toy airplane. I placed them where I could see them. Not to live in the past. but to remember it truthfully. Sometimes, I felt sadness. That never fully disappears. But it didn't control me anymore. Instead, I felt clarity. I understood something important. Love does not require sacrifice of safety. Family does not give permission for harm. And silence is not peace. Daniel visits occasionally now. He calls before coming. He asks how I'm feeling. Really asks. We talk about simple things. Books. Weather. Memories that still feel warm. We don't talk much about Melissa. That chapter is still complicated. Still tender. But boundaries are a form of love too. For others. And for yourself. At night, when I lie in bed, I sometimes think about that staircase. About how close everything came to ending differently. Not with fear. But with gratitude. I trusted the quiet voice inside me. The one that said, pay attention. The one that said, you are not imagining this. That voice saved my life. And now, each morning, I wake up knowing something precious. I am not here by accident. I am here because I chose myself. Some people think strength is loud. That it comes with shouting or anger or revenge. But real strength is quiet. It listens. It waits. It steps aside when something feels wrong. I don't hate my son. I don't even hate his wife. I pity the fear that led them there. I am still here. Still breathing. Still choosing kindness. And every morning, when I make my tea and watch the light move across the floor, I remember something important. Being one step ahead doesn't mean winning. It means surviving. It means trusting yourself when no one else does. And sometimes, walking away is the bravest step you'll ever take.